Hi, this is Danny Ryan, VP of Business Development for Three Will, and I'm here for the Three Will podcast, and I'm here with Kirk Liemohn, Principal Software Engineer. Thank you for joining me, Kirk.
Sure, glad to be here.
Kirk recently served as a missionary, and I've asked him to share some of his stories and maybe some of the lessons learned from going on this trip. Tell me more about your recent experience, Kirk.
Sure. So I went with my church, Dunwoody United Methodist. 18 of us went to Guatemala, and we were there for 8 days, and that was back in late August, so just a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And we went to a place called Salud y Paz, which stands for Health and Peace.
Nice.
And that is it's a clinic and a school, and so they are serving their community by providing healthcare, and they're serving the kids and giving some kids a good education.
So the place where you helped out was called that, or was it the city, or was it?
No, Salud y Paz is the name of the place.
Okay.
It wasn't really in a city.
Okay.
It was 30 to 45 minutes from the places we stayed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of out in the country.
Gotcha. How big was the group that you went with?
So 18 people.
Okay.
from my church went.
Interesting. Have any good stories that you'd like to share with us?
I've got plenty. Uh-huh. First, I'll just say that it was an amazing experience. I kind of expected, this was my first international mission trip, so it was very new to me. I expected to be affected by the people I met that were there, and I knew we were going to be working with kids a bit. Mm-hmm. And that did affect me. It was really neat seeing the smiles on their faces, doing things with them at recess. So, we had both recess and vacation Bible school, where more kids came in for that, about 200 a day.
Wow.
And so I would play with them at recess for 30 minutes, and just things like teaching a couple of kids to bounce a basketball between their legs. They thought that was amazing. Or I was just throwing kids up in the air, and they're, these kids are like, a lot of them are 5 years old or so, and so I could throw them up a few feet in the air and catch them, and the look on their eyes when it was happening. They loved it, but they were scared at the same time. And they came back for more. We're lining up. That was really neat, and just seeing the appreciation and the love that they had. Even though there was a language barrier, they could speak. There's like a lot of different Mayan dialects and languages that they speak. So they're being taught both Spanish and English. They know Spanish better than English, so they were speaking to me mainly in Spanish.
Okay.
I knew a little bit of Spanish.
Yeah, a little bit of Spanish. Okay.
So we could speak some, and you could understand what they were talking about. But just playing with them at recess and Vacation Bible School, we had a lot of activities. I was involved with a little bit on the side. And so I helped with those and helped them have fun and learn about the Bible a little bit. But we did little fun things like sack races and other things, and I even played a part in that some too. It was fun.
Very nice.
But most of the time we were doing work out there, and we were actually rebuilding their playground for that school.
Oh, okay.
So it's a shared property with the clinic, but basically it's for the school. And so we tore down the old one, and we were rebuilding the foundation, which involved several truckloads of dirt. Everything's by hand, and digging a 12-foot hole, which I only did part of that, but I did a lot of painting too, and then getting these 1,000-pound concrete rings down the hole. Our last day had rain, so we only got to 2 of the 4 of those, but yeah, the pickup truck couldn't quite keep a grip on the dirt when it was trying to lay it down, so we were actually having to push it to keep it from going backwards at one point. That's how heavy these concrete rings were. So
my goodness.
Stuff you wouldn't do in the U.S. But so those, let's see, other stories. I don't know. I've got another interesting one was there's a lot of political turmoil there.
Oh, really?
So the vice president was just put in jail, and the president was still presiding, and people were not happy with that based on what had gone on. So we knew one day that the streets were going to be closed, preventing us from getting there. So we had just moved from one hotel to another, but we had to leave that one at 5:30 in the morning to get to Saluti Paz so that the streets wouldn't be blocked. And we knew we'd have to go back to the other hotel. So we were like in one hotel a night, a lot.
Did you feel safe?
Yeah, I mean, we did. There was no riots that we saw, and in fact, we missed any street blockages and stuff like that. Yeah, going through Guatemala City was that's where we landed and took off in the airport we were at, and we were about 3 hours bus ride from there, which we rode what they call a chicken bus, which are U.S. school buses with apparently very powerful engines, because that landscape there is just there's one volcano after another. It's just huge. It's very mountainous. But Guatemala City, when you're going through there, it's you see people with semi-automatic rifles and barbed wire and stuff like that quite a bit. So I still felt safe, but it was a little uneasy, I guess.
The first mission trip I was supposed to go on was actually canceled because of political unrest. So it was down to Kingston, Jamaica. We canceled it and ended up going a couple months later, but it was still a little, you saw a lot of more machine guns than you'd like to see in a single day, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
It really is, that's the way it is. Tell me, what helped you to take this trip? What sort of led up to this? Did someone encourage you to go? Tell me a little bit more about that.
I'd always wanted to go on a mission trip, and just never made the time for it. And then last year, about a year ago, I think, Three Will announced that they were going to start a new benefit as part of the Three Will Foundation, is that what it's called?
Yep.
And that benefit was going to be up to 5 days of time towards service projects. And I just had to get it approved, so it was a piece of cake. And so once I heard about that, I immediately thought I want to do a mission trip with my church. So,
cool.
And since that was early fall of last year, maybe, or late summer, I immediately, I spoke to my church, and they said, okay, early January will be the first meeting. And so I made sure I was at those meetings, and it went from there. So I'm really appreciative that I was able to go on it, and hope to do so again next year.
Are you planning to do this next year?
Plan to do probably the same trip. We'll see. I'd love to do it with my wife, but since we have 2 young kids, it's not really convenient, and this is an adult-only mission trip. But yeah, I'll try and do it next year. My church does 2 mission trips, one to Brazil, one to Guatemala, 2 international ones. And I'll probably do the Guatemala one again, but I might do the Brazil one. So
that's great. Wonderful stuff. So I'm leaving the tough questions for the end here.
Okay.
How do you think you've changed since going on this mission trip?
Yeah, it's interesting, because when you're out there, you realize you've changed already. You're in an environment where people have so little compared to what you're used to having, and you don't have much either, because you're kind of roughing it. Although we were in hotels that had hot water, and I had my phone, although I didn't have access to the internet most of the time, but sometimes I did. Believe it or not, the best time was on the bus. Our bus actually had Wi-Fi, and that was better than the hotel's Wi-Fi. But yeah, it changed me. I think just an awareness of their culture, of the people there, of what they're going through, of their lack of, just their lack of things. And the kids there have to work to try and pay for their school. The parents can't afford to help them with school, and so there was one day I was at a market, and I went there, and kids were following me all around trying to sell me stuff, and these were school-age kids. And they are just trying to pay for their school. The school is free, but not the books and all the other things. So I learned really a lot about that, and it gives me a great perspective on life. And then also we did these daily devotions, did 2 a day, and where one person out of our group would talk and give a devotion of any type. And those were, I gave one, of course, as well, and those were really eye-opening. Most people were very vulnerable. I was as well, and just talked about something in their life and what they've learned from it. And I guess got to learn a lot about people and a lot about how to be open when talking to others. So it was really neat.
Sounds like a great experience.
It was. I recommend it for all, and I'm really looking forward to doing it again.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this, Kirk.
Sure, you're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.